So, Iron Lung. I know most of you have already got the tickets for it. I know most of you are already watching it this weekend, and I know this is review day or release day for it, technically not until tomorrow, but so many theaters are doing a day early release for it. All I'm going to say for now is please go watch it. If you are a fan of horror movies, if you like Lovecraftian horror stuff, like anything by H.P. Lovecraft, if you like Color Out of Space and any of those kind of movies with that kind of level of fucked up and good storytelling, I cannot say enough good things about Iron Lung. I am not a horror buff. I don't like horror movies. My way of watching horror movies is Dead Meat. I watch Dead Meat all the time because I can't stomach sitting through an hour, 2 hours of a horror movie and enjoying it. And this is my first horror movie experience. And my God, was it the best experience I've had in the theater in a while since Avengers, honestly, which is high praise because when the trailer for Iron Lung came out, I was originally expecting the movie to be cheesy, filled with Markiplier humor, but it's Markiplier, so I knew it was going to be something I would support and something that I would want to watch because I love the guy. Who doesn't love Markiplier? He's awesome. And what I just finished watching is what I can only describe as one of the best cinematic experiences I've had in a while, where you had one guy act his ass off in a room and tell a story that I haven't seen done well in such a long time. It was insane. So that's kind of why I say, please go watch it and support him. Like, the fact, like, not even thinking about how good the movie was itself after watching it, the fact alone that it is made by a small studio of a couple hundred, was directed, produced, and starring Markiplier, and had a small secondary cast of mainly just voices. You only see through 4 people total, and even then, those 4 people you see, only one of them has a prominent role, and everything else was just voice acting. So Markiplier's the only person in that entire movie that does anything. And my God, I didn't think I would enjoy his acting this much, but my God, was it good. So that's probably going to take care of the non-spoiler review of it, because I can't really talk about anything else without spoiling it, but also if you've seen the gameplay for Iron Lung, you'll also know what goes on and what happens in the movie. Essentially, I want to start from the beginning of what I remember from the movie and kind of go from there about what I liked about the movie so much. Its cinematography from the beginning to end was so good. The last time I remember watching a movie that had such well-made shots was Nosferatu. Because Nosferatu, I'm not a big fan of the movie, truth be told, plot-wise, but that's also because it's not my type of movie. But the one thing I will admit is it is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. And watching Markiplier act his ass off, and then the cinematography that complemented every scene in that movie is insane. The amount of like long panning shots, the opening shot in the movie is insane. It's a fake oneer where they start by essentially, it's like you're in the loading bay and the ship is coming down and it's just going along with the ship while it's going down into the blood sea. And then it goes into the blood sea. You see the blood pooling over the ship. And then the camera goes inside the ship, and then there's a panning shot of Markiplier, and then goes through the introductions of his character, Simon. That alone, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that is not what I was expecting from this movie. Not by a long shot. And then it kind of goes through there of where it starts off, and it's like the longer you go, it has so many scenes of where it's like, oh, you know what's going on, and then it starts being like, oh shit, that entire scene was fake. Because essentially it starts out with Simon being a convict who you have no idea anything about. It is just it is a mission that you are going into this planet because it is made of blood. We are looking for resources. You are there to take pictures, gather information for us to be able to collect information so that we could find said resources. The longer it goes, the more you find out of Simon is apparently blamed for the absolute desolation of a space station, and even though he wasn't the one who caused it, he was trying to stop it. And there isn't much context given. There's only a few flashback scenes, and they're like a couple seconds long. There's nothing past a couple of seconds in the movie to explain what happened in there. but it explains enough of where he was blamed for it and is now a convict. And even though he didn't do it, nobody else believes him. So he was voluntold on this trip to be the victim of gathering those resources. And they keep promising to get him out, but it's a suicide mission. It is literally a mission, an execution. And some fucked up shit starts happening where he starts imagining things, and then imagining this like weird blood monster that shows up that starts giving him hints of like where to go, what to do. And it starts progressing through there of him exploring. He finds a skeleton that he then goes back up to the surface for a progress check and shows them that, hey, this is what I found. There's a skeleton down there. I'm going to go back down. Is that everything you needed? Please get me out of there. They're like, no. They send him back down and tell him, hey, here's a battering ram. Take this, ram that skeleton, and get a bone fragment for us to use for experiments and to research. So he goes back down there and finds it, but turns out the skeleton's moved. They say it's an earthquake and says, hey, go about another 500 feet to or so this way and see if you can find it again, because due to the earthquake and gas bubbles, you should be able to find it. He goes and does so and finds it again. Now, this is where it starts getting really interesting in the movie, of where the suspense they build up through the fact of where it's all in one room. And all you have visuals of is you can't see anything that's outside of the submarine. So all you see are these flashes of a radioactive X-ray camera that takes pictures, that you realize that, oh, the reason you can't see anything and everything looks like a skeleton is that it's an X-ray camera. And because it's an X-ray camera, it takes everything, a picture of everything that's in front of it, and it looks like a skeleton, when in reality it starts hinting at the fact that that skeleton is not a skeleton, but in fact an actual live creature that is living there. He then rams it, turns out it's still, he finds out it's alive, and tries warning the crew that sent him down there. They don't listen to him, and he gets lost. And this is where it starts getting really fucked up and weird. It then goes into this whole thing of where he gets lost and is trying to find his way back, and it goes through this whole thing of where he starts charting his course, starts marking down everywhere he's going through, every tunnel and everything, and eventually he finds out that he's been just going in circles. But then he comes across a section where he finds out that there's this old submarine that was sent in prior to him, which is where he finds out that they lied about bringing him back and that it is an execution, not something that he can come back from alive. But finds out that there's this submarine called the SM-8, and it tries downloading information onto his computer, but because he has no authoritative access to be able to access that information, it fails, but he finds his way out. And as soon as he does, he keeps being followed by this creature. And then as soon as he starts getting close to being back to where he was originally lost, he starts hearing a voice talking to him about how, hey, this is another submarine. They sent us down here to die. You're on 1 oxygen level and you're not going to survive this. You might as well just give up because you're not going to survive this at all. He doesn't, goes back up. And this like part of the movie was my favorite, because I cannot say how enjoyable it was seeing Markiplier just essentially talking to himself, or in other words, talking to a voice coming from a radio and just acting his ass off. I didn't, like, it's Markiplier. When I think Markiplier, I think his YouTube videos, his goofiness, and I never think of him as somebody super serious. And then you watch this scene and it's like, oh my God, he's acting his goddamn ass off and it's amazing. Turns out he starts hallucinating more and more and starts realizing that something is down there that is more than what meets the eye. It is something that is more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not spiritual, but more so sentient and godlike, that he doesn't want to be found or explored or anything, and is part of the cause of the silent rapture. So he ends up finally making contact with his crew again that sent him down there, and finds out that he's apparently been lost for a couple of days. He should be dead, because when he got lost, he should have had enough oxygen for just a day or so, and yet somehow he's been gone for a couple of days and he's made it out alive. They make a deal saying, hey, that ship has some important ass info on it that you need to go back and get. So they send him back down there, and that whole scene was super suspenseful, because I can't tell you how much I enjoyed Markiplier's acting. The voice acting from the other actors in the movie is amazing and absolutely phenomenal. And hearing the suspense build up from just some voice actors voicing being voices on our radio, and then Markiplier. I don't know how well they did it so well, but he eventually finds the SM8, downloads the information, and as soon as he does, some really wild, fucked up shit starts happening. The ship starts basically melding in with the blood and becomes fleshy and starts basically growing organisms. And turns out that the creature that's been following him starts attacking him because it's actually sentient and is part of that, and saying, hey, you can't be here, you can't know this information, you are going to die, give up, and starting to taunt him. The crew tries to meet up with him, but they end up perishing, and he decides that, hey, like, there's this box that they tell him that is the information of the ship, and it has recorded all the information from the SM8 and everything that's happened on his ship. And they tell him, hey, save this at all costs, because this needs to be known and can't be hidden, and this creature is after you because it doesn't want you leaving with this information. So right at that scene, it is like, it is insane. That scene is just so what the fuck. Because as that scene is going on, and this whole voice dialogue is going on with a lot of screaming and yelling, the ship is constantly getting more and more holes in it, and more blood is pouring in. The submarine vessel is starting to fill up with more and more blood, and Markiplier starts realizing that he's actually starting to essentially transform into a creature, and his arms and everything are starting to kind of be poisoned and morph because of the blood and everything. And they find out that that blood is essentially human blood, and it doesn't explain what the silent rapture is or what happened. All we get is that it's human blood, and that had something to do with the silent rapture. And there's this scene of where he finally opens up the where there's an open hatch that he found earlier in the movie that he has to go down into and get the black box from. And he crawls into it, and it starts filling up with more and more blood to where he is eventually submerged. He crawls out of there and is just covered in blood. So he decides to put a life vest around the black box so that the black box can float if anything happens. And essentially, like, he stands up and puts his hands on the pipes of the submarine, and his hands literally start fusing with the metal. And it gets this weird, gruely, very, like, uncomfortable, fleshy scene of his like veins starting to kind of pop out of his hand and kind of fuse to that metal. And he tries freeing himself, and to the point where, because it fuses with his arm, he tears his arm off. And right after that, that's kind of basically where the movie starts to end, of where you have the climax of the fish creature that has been haunting him finally eats the vessel, but the vessel explodes, killing the creature and him inside of it. But thankfully, the black box survives, and the last scene is the black box floating in blood being found. And that's the entirety of the movie. I know I explained everything, so please, I hope you've watched the movie before you got this far. But every scene of that movie, I just can't tell you how happy I was watching it. Because the makeup effects, I gotta look up the names of the people who were the visual effects designers and everything, because my God, they did such a good job. The makeup was great. The blood effects were amazing. The set design for the submarine was phenomenal. Like, when the movie opened up and I'm watching it, it's like, oh my God, they did such a good job replicating the set that was in the actual game. And bringing that game to the movie, I think by far, if this year's Game of the Year Awards doesn't include Iron Lung as best video game adaptation, it is going to be criminal, because my God, was it perfect. But I can't stop gushing enough about it. I might try and make another video later about rewatching the gameplay of it and kind of comparing, like, the differences between the two, of like comparing, like, the game to the movie and where what he did. But I'm probably gonna wait on that. And oh my God, I can't wait till that movie comes out on Blu-ray, because I am so going to get a 4K copy of it if it does come out on Blu-ray. Because please, Mark, send it to some publishers. Please have them make a Blu-ray physical copy of the movie. I am 100% going to get it, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not a horror fan, but I absolutely loved this movie.